Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Naufal Dzaki Ardiansyah. Here, I will present my PowerPoint entitled Speech Act and Pragmatic Principle. Do you know what Speech Act and Pragmatic Principle are? In here, we will learn about it. So today, we will discuss my article, Naufal Dzaki Ardiansyah, from Universitas Islam Negeri Sunan Ampel, Surabaya, entitled Pragmatics. First of all, we will introduce what pragmatic is, and then problem formulation, discussion, and at the end, we will conclude it. Pragmatics is a branch of linguistics that studies the meaning structure of language externally, namely how linguistic units are used in communication. In this article, the author discusses parts of pragmatics. There are speech act and pragmatic principle. Problem formulation. Problem formulation here is what are the forms of speech act and pragmatic principles. And then we will enter into discussion. These are forms of speech act. The first one is locutionary acts. Locutionary acts are speech act to express something. The meaning of the speech conveyed is usually a fact or actual situation. In locutionary speech act, the information conveyed is the truth. The speech act does not contain a hidden meaning behind the speech and does not require certain action or effects from the interlocutor. The second is in illocutionary acts. Illocutionary acts are speech acts that contain the power to perform certain action in relation to saying something. When the speaker pronounces an utterance, in fact, he also takes action, namely conveying his intention or desires through the utterance. Kind of illocutionary acts are assertive, directive, expressive, commissive, and declaration. Assertive is speech act that bind the speaker to the truth of what he says. For example, stating, suggesting, boasting, complaining, and claiming. Directive is speech act that are carried out by the speaker with the intention that the interlocutor performs the action mentioned in the speech. For example, ordering, begging, demanding, and advising. And then expressive. Expressive is speech act whose form of speech serve to express also the psychological attitude of the speaker towards the situation. For example, thanking, congratulating, apologizing, blaming, praising, and condoling. And then commissive is speech act whose speech forms function to express promises or offers. For example, promise, swear, and offer something. And then declaration. Declaration is speech act whose speech forms function to connect the contents of the speech with reality. For example, sundering, firing, baptizing, and punishing. And the last is perlocutionary speech act. Perlocutionary speech act are acts of growing influence or effect on the speech partner. Perlocutionary acts contain the power to do something by saying something. Kind of perlocutionary speech act are instrumental function, regulatory function, representational function, interactional function, personal function, heuristic function, and imaginative function. Instrumental function serve the management of the environment, causing certain events to occur. And then regulatory function. The function of this speech as a tool to regulate people's behavior. For example, approval, reproach, and disapproval. And then representational functions. The function of this speech is to make statements, convey facts and knowledge, explain and report. In other words, describe the actual reality as seen by someone. And then interactional function. Function of the speech is to establish and strengthen the relationship between the speaker and the address. And then personal function. The function of the speech is to express feelings, emotion, personal, and deep reaction. And then heuristic function. Heuristic function are used to gain knowledge and learn the ins and outs of the environment and are often presented in the form of questions that require answer. And then imaginative function. The function of this speech is to create system or imaginative ideas. And the second is pragmatic principle. There are many kinds of pragmatic principle, such as the maximum of quantity, maximum of quality, the maximum of relevance, and the maximum of manner. Maximum of quantity. The maximum of quantity requires that each participant of the speech contribute as much as needed by the interlocutor. Or briefly, in this maxim, the information needed is neither more nor less. And then maxim of quality. This conversational maxim requires each participant of the conversation to tell the truth. Conversation participant contribution should be based on adequate evidence. In this maxim, the information required is correct and the speaker has proof of its truth. And then the maxim of relevance. The maxim of relevance requires that each participant of the conversation makes contributions that are relevant to the problem of the conversation. The information conveyed has relevance to the subject of the conversation. And then the maxim of manner. The maxim of manner requires that each participant of the conversation speak directly, not vaguely, not ambiguously, not excessively, coherently, consistently, and in an orderly manner. And the last one, we're going to get into conclusion. Communication is not only through verbal, but sometimes through non-verbal or body movement. Communication through body movement is also important so that we know how the other person feels when talking to us, so that we can better adjust the discussion we are talking about. So that's all for my presentation. Thank you for paying attention to my presentation. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.